know when it's time to change things up in your youth ministry? That's what we're talking about today on the Ministry Coach Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ministry Coach Podcast, where we bring you weekly tips and tactics to help you fast track the growth and health of your youth ministry. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Jeff Lascola, and this is my lovely wife,
Kristen Lascola.
Today we're going to talk all about when the time is right to change things up in your youth ministry. Like, how do you know when that time has come?
First way you might know it's time to shake it up a little bit if you feel like something is sucking the energy, life, or passion from you.
Students.
So it's time to get rid of the students. Youth ministry would be so much easier if there were no
Join
youth.
us next week for more tips like this on the Ministry Coach Podcast.
Tell them we're just not the place for you. We just want to play games and have a good time without you. I think it's safe to say, like, we can't get rid of every part of our job we don't like. That's not what I'm talking about, because every job is going to have parts of it that are just necessary, but you might not particularly enjoy.
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is there's certain things I've noticed over the years that youth pastors say that they have to do and they don't enjoy, but the person that's saying they have to do them is them. And like, nobody is holding them to these arbitrary goals and events and standards and things that they just loathe. They just get in this pattern of, oh, I hate this. And it's like, but if you were to stop and say, well, who's making me do this? Is it like, well, the finance department, because I have to turn in my expense report? Okay, that's fair. You have to do it. Unless you can sucker someone else into doing it for you, which I've seen done before. For example, we have beach days every Thursday in the summer. That adds up to a lot of beach days. And I remember when we hired a new campus pastor, he was like, why do you do them every single week? Because I was kind of like, oh, I gotta get to the beach day. He goes,
and this is beyond midweek program. It's its own separate day.
It was Saturday night service, 2 Sunday morning services, Tuesday night service, and then sometimes like an extra event thrown in, and there was beach day every single Thursday, just a standing thing. And it was just like, oh, here I go again, beach day. He's like, why do you do it every week? And I'm like, well, because we do beach day every week. He goes, should you though? Like, that's a lot of beach days. Like, you don't have to. I won't be mad if you don't do beach days every single Thursday. He goes, in fact, I would kind of encourage you not to. He's like, you know, you're out of the office a ton. When you do those, you could be doing other things and I kind of had this like, moment of like, wait, I don't have to do beach days every Thursday. Now, I still did, and I still do, but I was just talking to, I hope no junior hires are listening. I was just talking to my admin this week, and I said, you know, I dread the summer. And a lot of people look forward to summer, and I don't. I hate the summer. And I thought, why do I hate summer so much? There's a few reasons, but one of them is beach days wear me out. It's a lot to do that every single Thursday. And I've been doing it for years, like 10 years every single Thursday or more. I mean, maybe 15 years every single Thursday. That's in the summer. And that compiles to a lot. And so I'm like, you know what? Nobody's forcing me to do these beach days. They become a tradition, but I hate them. I feel the life sucked out of me. And then I asked myself the question on them, like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because last summer, I kind of felt like it was glorified babysitting, and like students would come and hang out, but then they'd all go like walk over here. And then this group of students would walk over there. And I'm like, I guess I should stay here at the tent in case anyone else shows up. But then I was like, by myself, because all these groups split up and went places. And I just remember thinking like, I don't know. I'm not saying it's worthless. I'm just saying I'm not sure it's worth every Thursday. And worth me, like, it's only February and I'm dreading summer. And that's, if I knew I only had to do, so I told my admin, I'm like, okay, I don't want to get rid of all the beach days. Let's just do one a month. And then maybe I would feel a little bit more like upbeat about summer. And so That I don't know what that is for you guys. If there's a thing where you're like, man, this is just really sucking the life out of me, the energy, the passion. Well, who is telling you have to do it?
Right.
If nobody but you is telling you have to do it, you get to, I would hope, get to design your own ministry and not be a slave to things that just suck the life out of you, but be able to adjust them in order for longevity and enjoyment and energy and passion. And I wonder sometimes if that's why youth pastors burn out, because they've just been doing unnecessary things they hate for so long that it's like, well, you didn't have to do them. Your ministry could have been just as good doing 3 beach days a summer rather than 12 beach days a summer.
Yeah.
Like, are the kids going to be like, no, I'm finding a new youth group? No, because guess what? They could go to the beach anytime they want.
That's the funny part
It's
about
open. I am not the gatekeeper of the beach. So they could figure it out and go, because they will anyways. So I don't know. I just sometimes like have watched youth pastors work themselves into a frenzy and just been like, so like, dang it, like the church, I just work so hard. And it's like, no, you did all that. You put all that on you. So it's time to change it up. If you are in a weird cycle of, I do things I don't want to, and then I'm mad about it, and then I hate this, and then it, repeats itself. Break the cycle. If you are the one in charge, you can. But like I said, that doesn't work for everything. But for what it does work for, take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of things get filed under like, well, this is just how it's done.
Yeah.
But then when you get to, it's like, well, explain that more. Who says that? You know, get to the bottom of that. It's like, I don't really know, but it's just the standing thing. And the other thing is, there can be that transition where it's like, hey, we're not doing beach days 12 times a month, or 12 times a month. It feels like it probably 12 times a summer. We're going to do it 3 times. And there's going to be this, oh, you got to be kidding, from the parents or the kids, free babysitting. But once you rip that Band-Aid off, that's going to become the new norm.
It'll just,
you know, there's a lot of things that you can add to your youth ministry, and that's great. And this is a new thing. This is the new thing. But that new thing can also be removing something. I know it's probably a consensus amongst youth pastors that lock-ins, it's like, it's a lot.
I am traumatized from our last one.
Many. And actually, bravo to you for being youth ministry for this long and have done so many lock-ins. But I think that is probably one of the things that a lot of youth pastors, top of their list of, I wish I did not have to do this. Yeah. And I think you need to really focus on that part of that sentence with have to do this. Do you have to? No. And if you can force, yourself to go through it, or better yet, if you can get some great volunteers that can kind of carry that load, and maybe you can hand that off to them, but don't hold yourself to this unwritten rule that we have to do this. There's only a few things you really have to do at youth group, and hopefully those would be, lead the kids to Christ, disciple them in Christ. Those are the have to.
But how do you do that there's a very broad brush to paint with there of how do we do those things,
right?
And if you're doing something that you're just over, then change it up, right? I just did our Glover Nighter. It was a lock-in, and it was really fun until the sleeping part. So I'm there with you. I changed our all-nighter to an all-overnighter, so at least there's the potential of sleep.
Right.
But those things are hard to recover from. I even for the students, I had a kid who was super mopey last week, and I asked his mom, like, is he okay? Like, I tried to talk to him. He seemed like in a bad mood. Did something happen? She goes, oh no, he's still just tired from the Glover Nighter. He's just been in a funk ever since. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like,
you're welcome.
We're turning everyone into zombies. Okay, so number 2, how do you know it's time to change things up, shake it up a bit? If students don't like it anymore, if there's things you're doing that the students are not into, and I think even if they once were, it doesn't mean they always are going to be. So we need to be very careful as youth pastors to listen to what students are excited about and what they roll their eyes and sigh about that they're just complaining about. But you have to use some discretion, because if your kids are like my kids, they complain about everything. And so it's hard to know.
I guess the message is gone. Can't do that anymore.
It's just like, oh, if there's something to complain about, sometimes junior hires have a little Karen in them of like, if there's an opportunity for a complaint, they will voice it and they can get very entitled about things. So you have to filter that out a little bit of like, okay, we know you love to complain, but what is a legitimate complaint of like, no, we hate this versus like, you're just being a Karen right now, but you're going to play it and you're going to love it. And you just like being a brat, I don't know, but you have to be able to filter like through those things, but actually really listening of, I remember in the past having games that I thought like, oh, like the students love this and it works well and whatever. And it was fun. And then noticing over time, like as soon as I would announce the game, they're like, no. And I'm like, what? And then I try it again. No. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, when did this culture shift happen? Like, when did you guys all of a sudden hate Head, Shoulders, Knees Cup? I love that game. And it's, you know why they hate it? Because I win. I win every time.
And gloat.
And gloat shamelessly.
Sore winner, sore loser.
Yep, that's me. Listening to their preferences and knowing like, hey, like if you're having an impossible time getting them to sign up for your beach cleanup event, then maybe we don't do a beach cleanup event. I think you've really got to listen to people. And that's another reason why it's so hard for me to pull the plug on things like those Glover Nighters because they fill up so fast. I know people love them. And like there's kids that come out of the woodwork that it's like, you never come to events. Finally, you're coming to an event, and then they come to events again, and then they'll come to youth group. And so sometimes it's just this gateway for people to get involved. And so I can see like, all right, there is some value here. I'll keep doing it. But there's other things that it's like, if we're forcing this program, I remember trying this thing a long time ago that I read in a youth ministry book, and it was called Habits. And it was like, you had this table and there's resources for kids to learn like spiritual disciplines, like
I remember that.
Yeah, a Bible memorization packet. And then there was like a tithing bank, and they could like learn how to tithe their money. And then they had like an accountability partner thing, and no one did it. No one signed up for it. I was publishing all these materials and updating things for literally nobody. And it was such a good thing. And it seemed like it was working for other youth groups because it was in this book. It was when I first started as a youth pastor a million years ago. And then I just stopped doing it because I'm like, you guys aren't picking it up. Like it's not. So listen to what people, your students and your leaders want. So sometimes I think things become like a one-hit wonder, and sometimes things go on repeat. It's like, oh, that was fun that one time. And then other things can become like a staple of your youth ministry of like, oh my gosh, we did this glow in the dark event. We're doing it every January. Yeah. It was such a success. Or, hey, we did this cool scavenger hunt. That was only fun over COVID because
there's nothing else.
There was nothing else to do and nowhere else to go. So use discretion with like, what is a one-hit wonder event that works for this particular time, and what is so successful that it becomes a part of your yearly repertoire.
To add to that, though, sometimes you can make some of those things, instead of having them become stale. Scavenger hunts are fun, but maybe it's something you do, hey, let's do this every other year, every third year, or whatever it might be, that when it happens, it's not like, oh, we're doing this again.
Right.
It's, oh, like I haven't been to one of these before, or, it's like, oh, I remember doing that. That was fun. And it kind of keeps the freshness of it.
Yeah.
It's just always an option.
Absolutely. Yep. And I think along with that, like you can just ask students, like, what do you guys want? What would make our youth room better? Like, speaking of changing things up, like you can ask them, what, if you guys could hear us teach about anything, what would it be? Sometimes a series just needs to retire. It's like not relevant anymore. Sometimes a worship song, although meaningful, is just outdated, and there's more relevant, newer, equally as meaningful scripturally based are scripturally based ones. I think getting out of that mindset of older is spiritual. That's always weirded me out. I don't understand. We've talked about that before. It's like, okay, a hymn was new at some point and it's old to us. It doesn't mean it's more spiritual. There's a lot of worship songs based off of scripture. So don't fall into that weird trap. I don't do everything the students say, but I ask them like, hey, if it were your youth room, what would you do? What new things would you add? And I've actually gotten really good ideas from them. Hey, what's your favorite game that we play? If it were up to them, we'd play Predator every single Tuesday. But it's like, well, tell me more. Like, what are some other games that when I announce we're playing this, like you get really excited. So listen to them. What do they want to hear? What do they want to sing? What do they want to play? What kind of environment do they want to be a part of? What kind of food do they want? What kind of things do they want at the snack shack? You do, in a sense, have a target customer, and that is a junior higher or a high schooler. So you got to know, what do they want?
Right.
And as much as you can, cater to that need, but you as the deciding factor of knowing what's good for them, kind of like a parent. Like a parent is like the arbitrator of a child's desires, right? So a kid is like, I want Snickers for breakfast. And it's like, well, that's your desire.
Done.
Jeff would do that.
You're going to school. Why
Jeff
not?
used to eat cake for breakfast.
Hey, I was an
What's the
adult.
difference between
I was an
cake and a
adult
muffin?
when I did that.
I know. But like a kid would say, okay, a kid named Jeff would say, I want cake for breakfast. Well, cake is the desire, right?
Bingo.
And the parent arbitrates the desire of like, well, cake is okay, but not right now. You have to have good food first. So what we do with junior hires and high schoolers,
Does it really matter
hey,
the order?
what do you guys want? And then we arbitrate those desires. Well, I also know what's good for you. So I'm going to take what your desires into consideration and then match them with what I know is good for you.
Right.
And we create a youth group that's both healthy and relevant. Healthy
because you're still the gatekeeper of the culture and everything else. So.
It's not Lord of the Flies. We don't let them run it.
Kind of. Though.
Kind of.
Have you
Depends.
been to a midweek program?
Yeah. Depends on the week for sure. But it's like we want their preference and our leadership to intersect in a way that creates a healthy environment, but that's relevant for the people who it's for, because it's not for you. If a youth group was for me, it would be hummus at the snack shack with LaCroix and
your muesli, whatever that thing is. Weirdo.
It's like a cold oatmeal thing. It's
gross. You didn't have me at the name. Let me ask you this.
Have you tried it?
Let me ask you this. You just described it. I know I don't want to try it. How would you go about polling your students on something like that?
That's a good question, Jeff. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, because I don't know if you want to like the whole thing. Like everybody's got an opinion. I don't know if you want all those opinions.
No, you don't. You're right. Here's how I've done it, and this is where I got the most treasure of information is with my student leadership team. One of our meetings, our last meeting of before the new year, I said, hey, I have some money left over from the budget. I want to get something cool for our room. What do you guys think? And I just took all their ideas. Like, we want a gumball machine and we want hot chocolate. They had just little things like that. I asked them about what video games they like to play right now. If I had to get some new games for our Switch, what would it be? And so that was a group that was more focused, because there are people who are involved that are core and that are kind of set the tone for the rest of the group. So using them, and it was just an open format discussion of what are some of your guys' favorite games that we play? What would you guys like to see in the youth room? If you could design a new service project for us, what would it be? So just letting them dream, and some of the answers, I'm like, really? No.
Let's see if anybody else has something to share.
Yeah. In my head, I'm like, absolutely not. But I still let them share because, for every 10 crazy ideas, you get one really good one, And so it was worth it.
How crazy does an idea have to be that a youth ministry won't try it? That's pretty crazy. That bar, man.
Okay, you want to know? I will give you an example. Oh, it just popped in my head. I can't even say it out loud. Okay. Composure. her idea, I think she's a 6th grade girl. I said, hey, what would make...
Here we go.
What would make our youth room super cool?
Guy.
Like, what should we add? And she said...
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to translate for everybody else. I can't understand what you're saying.
I can do this.
You want to write it down? I can read it. A gold calf? Oh no. A gold pan? Wait, where are you getting gold?
Gold panning station.
They have those? So you'd have to bring in water,
so
dirt,
have you ever been on
some
like
fool's gold? Oh my gosh.
Like panning for gold.
Is there gold in the fields outside of our church that I'm unaware of?
I think remember
she went to a summer
winery?
Camp and they had something.
We're at this winery and they had this like kids section, and it was like this little like panning for gold, and the kids were like in the water and with the sediment,
something like that.
Sentiment, whatever. Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
All right,
a
why
gold
not?
panning station.
I could see that being a hit.
And so we did it, and it was crazy. There's
the punchline. Oh man, that's
I messed
awesome.
up my eyeliner. I am crying. It was worth it. Okay, so
you kept a straight face.
I did. I think I was shocked at that point.
Yeah,
and then it turned into
because I'd be wondering,
humor,
is this a joke? Like, you got me. Gold panning station. Write in the comment section below on YouTube, how many of you guys have a gold panning station? And if you don't, when will you be bringing that to your youth group to change things up?
Because they brought baby Jesus gold, and so we could use it as an object lesson.
And frankincense and myrrh station too. I don't want to camp on this too much, but I'm sure that was a lot of fun in context for where she was, but that just doesn't seem like... Guys, come to youth group. You're not going to believe this. Unless you literally walked away with gold. I would go for that.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, to continue with our conversation. So if there is something in your youth ministry that the students are enjoying, keep it. Because I have sometimes fallen into this mental trap of this is old, this is tired, this is cliche, but it's only that way for me because I've been doing it for 18 years and they are brand new to the ministry. So it's cool to them. So like things like, like certain events, I'm just like, really?
Right.
You guys want to do that again?
Right.
Like, okay. But it's not again to them. So just kind of with that like little caveat in mind, if it's sucking the life out of you, change it to not suck the life out of you. But also, if you can put up with it and students like it and it's a staple of your ministry and people are still about it, just don't feel like something's cliche just because it's cliche to you. It probably will be at some point of like,
imagine how many of the messages you, not saying you personally, but just in general, that you give that you're like, are you kidding me? You've never seen this or heard this before. No, they haven't. This is their first time.
Yeah. And
being
sometimes
in
I
youth
feel like
group.
that with like object lessons,
Right.
like the ones where, and the water is red and now the water is clear. And now I'm just like, does everyone feel as stupid as I do right now? But they're like, wow.
You're right.
I did that one like 3 years ago and the kids applauded. And I was like, I felt like a magician, like, ooh, because I was kind of like cringing on the inside, like, oh, I feel so stupid. But they loved it because it is cringy to me, but brand new to them. So anyways, and then lastly, how do you know when to change it up is when things have lost their relevancy. So this could be, okay. We've talked about this in the sense of like the dying church episode, I think, and churches are particularly guilty of being outdated. And the reason that matters, because you might not think it does, but here's why it matters, is because if you're putting a very relevant message, which is the gospel is always relevant Jesus's message is always relevant. It's never going out of style. But if you encapsulate that in a very outdated environment to a brand new person, it sort of colors everything they see, including your relevant message of salvation, as, dare I say, fuddy-duddy. Do we use that word? Fuddy-duddy. Or kind of like just irrelevant, outdated, cringy, because it is just the way it is. It doesn't mean that if you're really hip, cool, cutting edge, relevant, all of that, that your message is more true.
Right.
But we have to make things palatable for especially a new listener, a new person. So when churches get outdated, now, again, if you're stuck in the 80s, then like, it might feel homey to you because maybe that's when it's like, oh, but that's kind of how I grew up. And, you know, but it doesn't make it more spiritual because the 80s was new to the person in the 70s and it felt homey to them to be stuck in the 60s. And that, you know what I mean? And so we can't hold on to nostalgia as spiritual.
Right.
And I think we make that mistake because it means something to us in particular, like our God is an awesome God. He reigns. It's like, oh my gosh, like that is, but it's like, but wait a minute, that's outdated. Listen to that on your own time.
Right.
And now let's pave the way for people to receive the relevant message in a relevant environment. And so it might be time to change things up in your youth ministry if things are, and this is hard because the pace of relevancy is very quick.
And it has
very quick
accelerated in the last couple decades with internet, social media, things like that, where just things change constantly.
Yes.
There's so many like challenges. Actually, the whole concept of challenge, I think, is even out.
I think it is.
Where the other day someone was talking about the ALS challenge. And I'm like, I guarantee if you said that to most kids these days,
they have no
even
idea.
high schoolers, said, the ALS, the ice bucket, ice water, or whatever it was, challenge. They'd be like, I have no idea what that is.
Right.
I have no idea what ALS is. I have no idea what the ice bucket challenge is.
Yeah.
And so everything changes so fast. Not that, I mean, that was a while ago, but stuff that was literally like a month or two ago is gone.
Yeah.
Way in the past now.
The good news is you don't have to stay like, there's certain things that'll become static, like your logo and your, you know, but like it's worth taking a look at that stuff and saying like, is our logo super 90s and cheesy, outdated? Yes, it's static, but could it use a tweak or a new font or some new colors or like a 2.0 version? What does our website look like? What does our social media look like? What does our youth environment look like?
Yeah.
Has it got a facelift or an update anytime recently? It might be time to change those things up. I was even thinking of my playlist, you know, we have a Chaos 5.0 now on Spotify and it's a mix of some of the 4.0 and my associate role. He included his more like hip hop playlist in there, but even some of the 4.0 stuff, I'm like, this is so old. Like I need to get rid of like half of those songs and update them with new ones. But I feel like I just did it.
Right.
Like I feel like I just was like,
it's got to constantly be evolving.
Perfect. Right. Guy, from laughing so hard, I'm like all like.
The one good thing though is that I think we are at a point in our culture where so many things are actually in that are contradictory to each other. There's so many like old fashioned styles and trends and things like that it's like those shouldn't exist in the same time period, but right now they kind of are.
Yeah, like with fashion, everything's
with fashion,
in
totally.
Almost. Good thing because this shirt, man, rough.
But I think even for those, I know there's a lot of people probably listening that are you know, when we talk about the dying church or some of the old decor and things like that, it doesn't necessarily mean it's unsalvageable and that's like we need to gut this place and blah blah blah, because there are some places that you can take some of that older stuff and just kind of tweak it
exactly
and revamp it, and it can all of a sudden what was maybe once the fuddy-duddy or like, oh my gosh, this is so old, become kind of vintage. Yeah. Which is also cool.
But you've got to mix it with a few key modern pieces and then it makes the old stuff look new. So it's like just a few like modern touches can kind of bring enough like, they get that we're in 2023,
right,
that you don't have to like bulldoze the whole thing. So I think that's, what we've been talking about is kind of a superficial level, like aesthetics and things like that. But like on a deeper level, knowing, I remember being 14 years old and sitting in the church I work at now, I went to that youth group, sitting in the high school Sunday morning church service, and the examples the pastor was giving in his talks, I'm like, how does he know this stuff? Because it was stuff my friends and I, like brands we knew or shows we were into or things we did or what. And I'm like, he's an adult. How does he know this stuff? And it kind of caused me to be like, sort of impressed. Like, okay, like you get us a little bit. And I think the older you get, the harder that is to do. There used to be this podcast. I think it was on the DYM network. I really wish they would bring it back. It paused and it's tragic. And it was called What It Is and What It Means. And I used to listen to that, and they would talk about, all right, well, who is this YouTuber and what is he about and what are his videos saying? All right, what
different
is this
trends and
trend on TikTok? Like they were talking about all of it, and it was just this digestion of the current.
Hilarious.
It was so good. I wish they would bring it back. So it kind of, I haven't found a great replacement for that other than just having conversations with young people, being students of students, having younger leaders in the mix, asking them what's new and relevant. And then, I mean, this is such an adult way to be relevant, but doing research of like, asking that student leadership team, all right, what are the shows you're watching right now on Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, whatever? What are the bands or songs you're listening to on Spotify? What's your favorite playlist right now? What is your top 5 favorite movies? What are your 3 most used apps? Like if you just asked your student leadership team that, and like, hopefully they wouldn't like give you away. I mean, I would rather be a research nerd than be totally irrelevant, I guess, because sometimes as an adult, like my friends don't speak in memes. And so I don't really know where to go to find that. It just takes research. But, being on the up and up with what are they talking about? What are they playing? What are they watching? What are they listening to? We have to continue to dive in that. And I get made fun of a lot for being on TikTok, but it's actually helps me because then I'm like, well, I kind of know, like
you're not on you're scrolling on TikTok.
Yeah, technically I have one. I don't know if I ever posted one. I think my intern posted one for me because I didn't know how to do it, but it was like, I know. And see, this is the problem. It's me. So I'm the problem.
You ask the youth, you see, and they'll tell you how to post.
And okay, so you have a few like 19, 20-year-olds on your staff. They're very willing to like tell you, here's the latest trend, this, that, and that, give you like the debrief. And it's like interesting because even though I am on TikTok, my algorithm caters to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't cater to a 12-year-old girl or a 13-year-old boy. Thank God,
If it did, you'd be more in touch with that culture.
So anyways, if we are getting these subtle hints that we're falling a little bit behind and into irrelevancy, it might be time to facelift some things, do some research on some things, and make sure that we're speaking the same language as the culture we're trying to reach, whether that's through our messages and examples or through the environment that we are inviting them to be a part of. And it is important. Again, we can't just table these topics and say, well, those aren't spiritual, so I don't care. I'm here to preach the gospel. It's like, you're a missionary to your culture. Don't forget that. And so you've got to understand that culture and be able to reach them in a language. The gospel's got to translate.
Yeah.
And so you need to be able to translate it into the language that they can understand it in.
Yeah. And part of that is, like you said, being a student of your students and just kind of picking up some of those things. And Hopefully you don't have to do it as nerdy as like, can you guys tell me like 5 things that are cool? Which is basically announcing to everyone you're not. But
you do it more sneaky than that, okay? You don't just show them your cards. You say, I'm doing a research project.
I bet you
don't
each
say
one of
it's
you
for me.
has a top 5 that are different. Let's just check and see what everyone's
You
top
just say,
5
hey,
is.
I'm doing a youth research project.
That's nerdy.
They will think
I think
you're
my version was better.
A smart doctor.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
All right, we're going to do a little game time. The Fabulous 4 trivia game. Yay!
It's time for some fun. Let's play the Fabulous 4 trivia game. Yay!
This is, I don't know if you're going to like this. Psycho. All right, this is U.S. geography.
Fine, bring it on.
All right.
I see what you're trying to do here.
Well, I tried to make them, I think these are all fairly reasonably easy for any normal person. All right, we're going to start off. Which state is often referred to as the land of 10,000 lakes?
Michigan.
You're close. Minnesota.
I knew it started with an M, though.
All right, that's one wrong. What 2 states border Indiana to the west and to the east?
For crying out loud. This one was personal.
I don't think all Americans have maps such as.
Hey, I would like to defend her.
Get one of them right.
Publicly, because that is a really hard question that they asked her. And it's a stupid one.
It was strangely worded, I think, too. We have a lot of listeners in the state of Indiana. Do not let them down.
Okay,
like you did
let me
all
think.
the good people of Minnesota.
Indiana. What is under?
Not under, to the west and the east. Do you know east and west?
Right. Indiana. Ohio?
Okay.
Is that one?
What's your next guess?
Is it a Dakota?
No. You got one. It's not multiple. Okay, let's just go through every. Is it Arizona? Is it Alabama?
No, it's not Arizona. Because Indiana's like right there. It's
Yeah,
kind
it is
of in
right
the middle,
there.
and it looks like the guy wearing the hat, but he's looking to the left.
Oh my gosh. To the east is Ohio.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
To the west.
Don't tell me.
Lost it.
Wyoming.
Oh my god. You're getting further west.
No. Oops. I meant North South Dakota.
Neither one of those.
Fine.
Illinois.
Yes.
Yes, it is. 0 for 2.
Actually, 0.5.
Oh, true. That's true.
I got half.
You're 0.5 out of 2. There are 4 states whose capital has the word city in it. Name one of them. Just one.
Kansas City. No.
Not a capital.
How? Who knows this? Okay, let me try again.
Every 5th grader.
I was busy in 5th grade, okay? I had a boyfriend. I had...
Oh my gosh. I didn't think this would be this funny, but it is. There's 4 of them. You shouldn't get this much time. I'll even give you the states. Let's see if you
Oklahoma City.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think you should get credit for that at all. Kansas
I'm going
City.
to take half a point.
All right.
Equaling now 1 point.
Jefferson City, Missouri, Carson City, Nevada, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Salt Lake City, Utah. All right, last.
I did great.
Is what state has the longest coastline or the most coastline?
California.
Oh, man, you're
I see.
0.5 for
Alaska?
4. It is Alaska.
I forgot about Alaska. I was thinking of the mainland, bro.
Oh my gosh. All right, that was awesome. Okay, let's do it.
I feel like one of those people on the streets, and they go and they
Yeah,
ask
you are one of
them,
those people
like,
on the streets.
"Hey, what is?
Who's
how
the
many?"
Vice President of the United States of America? I don't know, like Jimmy Kimmel. All right, let's see. This is a community comment of the day. This comes from Jordan Sipe, who says, "Always a great podcast. I'm in the middle."
Kamala Harris, that's her name.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh no, what if he actually?
Be quiet.
Kamala Harris.
This is from Jordan Sipe, who says, always a great podcast. I'm in the middle of completely shifting the culture of the whole youth ministry, so I'm excited to soak in as much info as possible. So I hope your culture...
Still mad.
Jordan, I hope your culture shifting has gone well.
Yes.
We appreciate you watching and listening and commenting.
We love you, Jordan.
Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And also in the comments
see you
section
next time.
below.
He did that on purpose. It was personal. I'm going to do a quiz next week for you about
Clearly, the public school
dogs.
system in California has failed us.
I went to a private school.
Even worse. All right. If you guys want to leave in the comment section below how many you got right, can you beat 0.5 out of 4?
Excuse me, 1 whole point. 0.5 plus 0.5 equals 1. Maybe we should do
you did get that.
No.
You don't get 0.5 for Kansas City.
I'm taking Oklahoma City.
No.
It was my second runner-up. Fine. Then 0.25. I have 0.75
Math
of a point.
and geography are not your strong suit. 0.5 out of 4. Can you beat it? Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.
How do you know when it's time to shake things? I did like a weird little hand. Yeah.
Oh, today we're. Oh, I'm just going there. Today we're all.
You
guys are there. Welcome to the Ministry Coach. I already forgot what I was gonna say.